I want to tell you something. When facing opposition or when walking with God, facing opposition is inevitable. Okay, let that sink in. It means that it is bound to happen. Okay, by going against the grain, by going upstream, by deciding to follow after God, you are saying yes in a world full of no's. You are saying yes in a society where, yes, it may be publicly acceptable to live out your faith, but people will always be judging you for that. Okay, people will not understand. There is a verse in the Bible that says the darkness can't even comprehend the light. Okay, and this is not in a condescending way. This is in a factual way. Okay, literally, if you are living in darkness, you can't even stand to see the light. You can't even comprehend how something could be so bright, how something could shine and pierce through the darkness. Okay, so it is no small realization, okay, that you are going to be shining in some really dark places, that you will be facing spiritual opposition, that you will be climbing uphill and journeying against, or, rather turning your back to the crowd in following after Jesus, okay? So I really want to stress, and this is something that I say all the time, but it's so true. When God called you, honey, it wasn't a conference call, okay? It was not a call that everyone was present or everyone was privy to, okay? He called you. He chose you. He pulled you out, okay? He called you out by name, which means he singled you out and said, my daughter, my son, I have an assignment with your name on it, and I need you to follow after me to get it done, okay? Not everyone was privy to that information. Not everyone has the vision. Not everyone received the same vision that you received, okay? Even people in the faith receive different visions. We're called to build different parts of the body. And so even a believer might not understand your faith journey, okay? It is unique to you. Not everyone was privy to that information, so you cannot possibly expect people to understand, much less support the vision that God gave you specifically, okay? And in you trying to find or trying to garner people's approval, okay? Living for Christ is not a life where you will be approved by many, okay? You really just need God's approval, okay? You don't need man's approval. We don't live by man's approval when we say yes to God. All we need is God's confirmation, God's approval, okay? God's directions and instructions. We cannot wait for people. We can't sit around and wait for people to become comfortable with our faith walk. We can't sit around and wait for people to understand, to support, to give their endorsement to our faith moves, okay? Do you hear me right now? When you are called to build for the kingdom, you're going to make some bold faith moves. You're going to be called to make some bold faith moves for the kingdom, which means you're going to be stepping out, waiting for provision to meet you on the other side. God's going to tell you to move in ways that you will literally have to take that first step for the next one to come up under you, okay? And these are things I have literally experienced, my dear, where the Lord was like, I want you to take a trip, and I had $200 in my bank account, and he made a way where you are not going to, you're going to have to make decisions that are not going to make sense at the time. But as you say yes, as you commit, as you decide to not wait for people's approval or comfort in your faith journey, you will continue moving in the way that God has called you, which is why it is so important you understand that not everyone was on that call, honey. So not everyone's going to understand the magnitude of the vision planted inside of you, which is why it is essential to your spiritual evolution that you surround yourself with people who are visionaries. You have to surround yourself with people who have vision, who understand the magnitude of a God-sized vision, of a God-sized dream, okay? You cannot surround yourself with people who have no vision for themselves, much less who have not received divine vision from the Lord, much less people who have never been called to make bold faith moves. They will simply not understand the way that you move through this earth, okay? They will not understand that you live above systems, earthly systems on the earth, okay? You live according to a heavenly system. We live according to a heavenly system here. So things that don't make sense here on earth, they make sense in heaven, and God is actively making a way for them to make sense here on earth. And so by you waiting for people to become comfortable, you are squandering the very faith God is trying to build in you. Okay, this is a real struggle of a faith walk here. We have real talk here on this channel because it is not a cakewalk. Okay, a faith walk is not a cakewalk, but it doesn't mean that you are not equipped or currently being equipped to handle all that's going to come about on this faith walk when you say yes to God, when you say, yes, you have your way. I am a yielded vessel. You can fill me and pour me out as you need on this earth. And so it's so important that you realize You got to hang up on some people, honey. Seriously, you got to put the phone down on some people calling you out, saying that this isn't how you're supposed to live. This isn't the way. This isn't conventional. This isn't traditional. This isn't how things are done. Of course not. You live for a different kingdom. It's not how things are done in heaven, okay? We're bringing heaven down to earth, especially if you're called to be a queen, especially if you're walking in your healed mentality as a healed woman, honey. You are called to literally embody the essence of heaven and bring it down to earth, okay? For your husband, for your family, for the people you are called to as destiny helpers, people who are called to your path who you will impact through building for the kingdom. Okay, there's a lot when you say there's a lot attached to your yes. Your yes has weight. Your yes to God has weight, as in like physical weight. And it is imperative that you understand every yes that you continue to give God is going to be met with opposition. It is going to be met with opposition. So when you begin to face spiritual opposition, that's really just an indicator, a very normal and healthy indicator that you're on God's path, that you're on the right path He wants you on, that you're on the straight and narrow, come on, that you're going upstream for the kingdom, that you are kingdom bound, okay, upward bound. It's not going to make sense for people who spend their whole life looking at the plane around them, looking at this horizontal plane. Your vertical way of life is not going to make sense. You focusing on your position and ignoring your earthly circumstance is not going to make sense. Okay, you saying that you are meant to build for the kingdom, yet your life is in shambles, doesn't make sense to people around you. And of course, if your life is in shambles, God is currently breaking you down to build you back up. But you know you're so grounded in your heavenly identity that you're like, it doesn't matter what my circumstances look like. I have a promise. I'm living out a promise. I am a walking miracle because God promised me He was going to rebuild me, renew me, restore me, and that I was going to continue to build for the kingdom despite what my circumstances look like right now. If you are called to build, you already know the path is one that you are blazing by yourself. Okay, it is not a path, it's unprecedented. You're doing unprecedented things when you build for the kingdom. You're doing things that no one around you is doing. No one around you is building the way you're building. And so you know you're facing opposition. Come on, Noah. The story of Noah, that story comes to mind, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You are literally on the path you're supposed to be on, and opposition is just confirmation. Because imagine if you were going with the crowd, you don't face any opposition, you're going with the grain, you're going with the energy moving in that direction. But we all know that the path, I don't want to condemn people and say the path to hell, okay? But the path to destruction is wide and broad, okay? Everyone's going that way. A large group of people are going that way. So of course it's easy for the current to carry you downstream. It takes courage, it takes vision, and it takes discipline to go against the crowd, against the flow of current going downstream. We're swimming upstream, hun. Upstream, okay? So I want you to take heart in that fact that opposition is just confirmation that you are yielded to the King of Kings, and He is using that season of opposition or that current circumstance, because it is bound to happen, to strengthen you, to strengthen that faith like a mustard seed, to build you up for the kingdom so you can turn around and do the same for someone else who's currently fighting their way upstream, that you can pull them up and say, I see you, I've been where you've been, let me help you. Let me teach you how to face opposition with grace and tact. Let me teach you how to continue to transform the world and not conform to their standards, not conform to their way of living, okay? You are going against the grain in everything. You are countercultural in everything when you face opposition, okay?